And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I am Michael DeLon. Today I'm talking with Danny Nathan. And well, Danny, thank you so much for taking some time and being with me this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited for our chat.
Well, you are welcome. It's going to be a fun chat. Danny does something that's really kind of out of this world, per se. I love it because his company's Apollo 21, and it's got this whole space theme. It's really fun. You got to go to their website and check it out. Apollo21.io. Just check that out. But that's only after you listen to this amazing interview. So what Danny and his team does is they've brought together a bunch of just really smart people to help business owners, entrepreneurs, and tech companies unlock the limitless growth potential inside of your own business. And I love that phrase. I think I stole it from his website, but I think it's really cool because so many times we've limited our growth or we've got a project we don't know how to get off the ground. That's where Danny and his team come in. So let me just start this whole thing as we dive deep, Danny. Say, how in the world, Danny, did you get doing what you are doing today?
It has been a long and sort of roller coaster-ish path. I started my career in the world of advertising and realized very quickly that I didn't enjoy doing that, and so I made it a personal goal to get out of the world of advertising and into something that was more technology driven and frankly just more aligned to the way that I think the world works today. And so I found myself working at an innovation consultancy here in New York for about 5 years. That was my introduction into the world of innovation and helping companies and businesses think about how to bring value to their consumers before screaming at them to buy something, for example. And then from there, I migrated into the world of startups and entrepreneurship. I've launched a number of companies of my own. I've served as head of product and design for a number of different technology-driven startups. And then my previous role at my last company was as head of product for a video startup in LA. And during the last year or so of my tenure there, I was asked to help out some of the other portfolio companies that our investor had with their technology needs. And so that was kind of the beginning of specifically doing the work that we do at Apollo 21. I started doing it for a few other organizations that were friendlies. And then finally somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, you seem to enjoy this. Why don't you go take a run at it?" And so we launched Apollo 21 in April of 2021, and we've been doing that since.
Awesome. I love that. So, unpack. So people, if they're like me, they're sitting there going, okay, I kind of get this, but I'm still kind of a little fuzzy. Let's bring
Yep.
it down to the bottom shelf and say, okay, who do you really love working with, and what are those three segments that just define what y'all do?
Yeah. So we work primarily with mid to enterprise size corporations. Our very rough, not hard and fast benchmark is companies doing about $10 million in revenue a year who are looking for opportunities to scale either through new product development, new venture building, or who are looking to establish venture building operations of their own. So they're looking to innovate internally by creating like an internal venture studio or innovation lab. And so the work that we do generally falls into three categories. It is helping companies build and launch new products that align to their existing portfolio, helping companies establish those innovation and venture building operations internally, or helping companies solve operational challenges by building technology to accomplish something specific that is a blocker or a problem within their organization.
Okay, excellent. And that's great. Thank you. I heard the story years ago, and I think this kind of relates as it was Apple was the company, right? And
Of course it was.
somebody walked into the lunchroom and said, "Hey, I need 10 engineers to come help me on this new project that nobody knows about that's going to probably fail, but blah blah blah, right?" And like 10 people raised their hand and they said, "Okay, come." And that was the group that built like the iPhone, right?
Yeah.
It was an internal innovation thing. That's kind of what you do with companies who may not have the stuff that Apple, or that may have been you. I don't know.
I wish I could tell you that was me. I'm afraid it wasn't though. But yes, that's a really great example and alignment to the type of work that we do and the type of operations that we are helping companies establish. Because what we find is that every company believes in innovation, wants to talk about innovation, wants to share how they're being innovative, but a lot of that is sort of masked behind innovation theater, We talk about the illusion of innovation, the going through the motions of doing things that sound at face value like they are innovative, but when push comes to shove, aren't really changing the culture and the trajectory of the organization. And so we come in and help evaluate, re-articulate, or establish from the ground up those types of operations in a way that our process has proven works and creates an established ongoing practice that companies can then carry forward.
Yeah, and that's really cool. And the other thing I really liked about Apollo 21 and what you guys are doing is you said on your website that you start from the very beginning, in a sense, to work yourself out of a job because you
Yes.
expect your companies to unpack that, because I thought that was a really intriguing thought.
Yeah, that's something that I think is relatively unique to us. We start every project with the expectation that our client will outgrow us, and if we have done our jobs well, then that is exactly the eventuality that we're aiming for. And what we have found is that often we'll be brought in to start by helping a company solve a very specific, discrete need. And what we find as often as not is that in the solution process for whatever problem they've articulated, we uncover a number of other things that we could do. And so often what will happen is either the solution to that initial problem will grow in scope and scale, or we'll start with something small and then continue layering things on. And what we find is that in success, if we have helped a company create a new product, launch a new venture, establish their own venture building operations, at some point they're going to look at us and say, you know what, this has been great, but we need to internalize these operations. And to be frank, we fought against that a little bit early on. And, as a company ourselves, and of course, a company that is trying to, keep money flowing through the coffers, we started off by trying to grab onto and hold on to as much of that business as possible. And what we eventually realized is that it's a terrible way to do business,
Mhm.
because eventually you end up butting heads with your own clients and your own people that you've built strong relationships with, because you're trying to hold on to their business at the same time that they're trying to expand their business and make it their own. And so I finally just threw up my hands and said, you know what, this isn't the right way to do this. We should start every project with the expectation that if we do our jobs well, that client will fly the nest, if you will, and begin to operate without our help. And so we almost use that as a benchmark now. If we can get a client to a point where they no longer need us, then we feel like we've done a really good job.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting because when you go to Apollo21.io, their website, it's a space theme, right? People in space outfits, you get to rocket and everything. And it just occurred to me as you were talking about that, and this whole concept is, it's almost like you guys are helping that company, you're helping NASA build the rocket to launch. And success is when the rocket actually launches. And now what they're able to do is go into a new orbit and do great and mighty things because of what you've brought to the table. Is that a fair analogy?
Yes, I wish I could tell you that we were building rockets for NASA, but beyond that, I think that's spot on.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. But whether it's rockets for NASA or apps for Bank of America or VR things that are coming, or a technology platform maybe for a manufacturing company. I mean, it
Mhm.
really doesn't matter the industry as much as the thought process and how you go about doing things. Can you unpack that? Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We are industry agnostic, we are vertical agnostic, and really what we're focused on is helping companies do what I've described, either solve a core operational problem, and often we will do that by first consulting with the company, really wrapping our heads around what their company does, how their business operations work, and then where the pain points are in those operations. And a lot of what we do is building technology to solve those specific pain points. So we've worked across financial services, across remote guarding and security. We've done work in the Western sports space. And a lot of that is underpinned by actually a technology stack that we built and own called Mission Control, which allows us to very quickly, yes, carrying the space theme
Of course
forward,
it is.
exactly. Um, but I liken Mission Control to like a box of Legos. It's a bunch of pieces of functionality that we can dump on the floor and then cobble together into whatever we want it to be to solve that problem for that company. And then on the other side of it, as I said, is helping companies launch new products and launch new ventures. And so In doing that, it really gives us an opportunity to learn about their business and to understand how we can have an impact so that we can help them grow, scale, change, establish innovation practices, etc.
Yeah. And I think the other thing I really like about the model that you've got is you're equipping that organization and their people to grow themselves and to create this little skunk works, as if you will,
Yeah.
that will endure. Is that how it kind of works?
Yeah, when we talk about creating venture building operations internally, that's really exactly what we're talking about is helping companies understand how to successfully create that little skunkworks team, or really it can start with a skunkworks team, but a lot of it comes down to helping companies understand what the shift in culture and mindset needs to be so that the skunkworks becomes the organization. And
Yeah.
so what starts with a small team of, 5 to 10 people that are building the next iPhone or the next NASA rocket, whatever it might be, we think that there's an opportunity for that team to really end up creating and sharing a pervasive mentality throughout the organization that leads to a cultural shift, enabling innovation, exploration, and ultimately opportunities for failure without repercussion, because that's kind of where the magic happens.
It really does, and we will probably never know how many failures the iPhone had before it actually succeeded. Right? It's kind of like Henry
Right.
Ford using the V8 engine. How many times did that fail? But and I think that's why I love the phraseology you use is unlocking the limitless growth and potential inside your business, because it is, once you have this mindset and you have a culture of innovation, where is the
Anything
limit?
is possible.
Anything
Exactly.
is possible. Exactly. And if as fast as the world is moving with technology and all this other stuff, you really do need to be an innovator. Our companies, we've been around 13 years, right? We've
Mhm.
reinnovated ourselves dozens of times, just looking at, as who was it, Wayne Gretzky, don't look where the puck is, look where it's going.
Right.
That's innovation, and that's really what you are helping companies, organizations do, is not just develop that next thing, but create a mindset and a culture around, well, okay, what about the thing that's four things down that we don't even know about yet?
Right.
Fair?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely fair. And a lot of it also comes down to really operationalizing that mindset. It's one thing to say to a company, like, you need to change your culture, you need an innovative mindset, but it's another thing to help companies understand exactly how to make that tangible and realistic. And so, for example, we talk a lot with companies about what metrics are leading their efforts and how to think about the metrics that are demonstrative of that innovative culture so that the actions that we are encouraging them to take and helping them to establish internally become grounded in the business operations in addition to just the greenfield or blue sky opportunistic view.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so important, especially I assume when you're getting into innovation, is having somebody with an outside perspective, an outside voice who's seen a lot of things. You've helped innovate and create lots of things over your time, but you also
Mhm.
have this team that can come in and I assume not every client needs like all three aspects, because you can help them
Right.
with any three. It's just that sweet spot, right? So you can help them regardless of where they're at.
Right, exactly. And that's where some of the moneyness around what we do comes in as well. Because as I said, some of what we do is operationally focused and building technology to help folks solve those challenges. Some of it is focused on creating new products, but within that kind of existing sphere of what a company does today. And then of course there's the more innovative blue sky venture building side of things, which is, if we took all of the barriers out of the way, what might happen? And that's where things get really exciting as well.
Oh, absolutely. Wow, we could go down lots of rabbit trails right there. But I'll just hold back because it'd be way too much fun. Um, Talk real quick as we start landing our shuttle. Let's call it that, right? Um, Talk about what's going on in the mind, maybe the heart of a company, an organization, a team before they reach out to you. Okay, so they've got something. What's going on so that somebody listening can go, that's me. What happens? What's going on before they reach out to you?
Often what we hear is that the metrics that companies are using as their North Star are starting to feel stale. They're having trouble reaching those the goals for those metrics that they've put in place. Revenue might be slowing down, growth might be slowing down. Um, Things like that that are big red flags for companies that often what you will see is companies will just throw more resources at the things that they've been doing. Oh, customer growth is down. Let's run more ads, for example. And that can be a band-aid to those near-term solutions. But the reality is that it is just a band-aid and it is very much near term. And so we talk a lot with companies about what longevity looks like and where they want to be in N number of years as opposed to next quarter, for example, because a lot of the principles that guide today's organizations are grounded in near-term metrics and near-term success at the expense of a long-term perspective and viewpoint. And so where we come in is, when companies are hitting that moment of, hmm, things are slowing down, we know we need to change something, but the things that we are trying aren't working, that's really where we see an opportunity to go, okay, well, maybe it's a time to try something different. Let's think about what that might look like and how we can layer in something different into your operations in a manner that isn't disruptive, but rather adds fuel to the fire.
Yeah, very, very cool. And the other aspect, and it's right on your website as you start your introductory video, is helping companies understand the value and what they're bringing to their customer, their audience, because that
Yes.
really is what it's all about. Speaking to
Yes.
that, Tad, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We are massive proponents of the customer development process. And so everybody talks about talking to their customers, but what we see is that a lot of companies talk to their customers by sending a survey about how their customer support experience was, or, hey, how did you like your new shirt? Whatever. And the reality is that when you're talking innovation, growth, and opportunity, really what you're looking for are what are the next pain points that we can solve for our customers that align to our particular business so that we can create that symbiotic relationship of a customer needs something that we can provide. Let's build something that adds value for them. And therefore, of course, in the process, creates value for us at the same time. And so instead of just jumping directly into brainstorming, for example, or running a design sprint to find what the next opportunity is, we encourage our customers to spend a lot of time talking to their customers so that they understand and begin to unpack where those pain points are, where the emotional moments in the customer journey are, so that they can begin to solve those. And what happens is we end up starting very wide and just sort of exploring where are opportunities, where is pain happening. And then as we begin to identify those points, we begin to narrow in and go, oh, interesting. That particular pain point aligns to our business. How might we solve that pain point? And you keep talking to customers. Hey, here's a 4-frame comic book storyboard that we think solves the problem that you told us about. What do you think of it? And what we find is that by the time you get through that customer development process, which let's be clear, maybe a couple of weeks, it may be a couple of months, depending on kind of who
Yeah.
you are and how in depth you want to go there. But what happens is by the time you start building something, you have talked to customers about it and heard their reactions to it so many times that the risk level of what you're about to create is incredibly low. And you know exactly whether or not you're on the path to creating something that they will find value in and therefore pay you for. And so that upfront work, while it is upfront work, saves so much effort in the long run by eliminating 7 features that you didn't need to build from the thing that you're launching, for example, that it lends itself to massive success.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And not only that, but building something that I really like and I really think is cool that my customer just doesn't really care about. That's
Exactly.
what that's
That's the
what
worst moment. Yeah, when you get to that moment of, hey, we built a thing, don't you think it's great? And everybody kind of looks at you and goes, eh,
yeah. It's
that
yeah.
it is the worst feeling.
It really is. And the value that you didn't even really talk about is the value of when you're talking with your customers, the value of the relationship
Yes.
deepens so much that then you don't have to sell your thing to them. It's a natural byproduct of value creation and customer retention.
Exactly. You create an amazing relationship with your customers who feel like their needs are being heard, who feel like they have input into the process of creating the solution to the problem that you are working with them to identify. And often, what we'll find is that by going through that customer development process, by the time you launch a thing, you've got customers lined up and waiting for it because you've already talked to those people. And what we'll hear in that process is, oh my God, call me when this is ready. Send me an email. I want to be the first person to use this. That is fantastic because
Yeah.
then you don't hit the point that we were just describing of launching a thing and feeling like it's falling flat. Instead, you've got people beating on your door going, give me that thing. I want it. I need it. It solves a problem.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is a place everybody wants to be, and I think Danny Nathan and his team at Apollo 21 have kind of helped figured out how to make this happen on a more regular basis. So,
Yes.
Danny, how do people reach out to you, find out more about you, your company, take that next step? Where's the best place for them to go?
Best place is our website, which you've mentioned a couple of times. It's Apollo 21, number two, number one.io. I, of course, am also active on social media. I am blah, blah, blah slash among many on just about everything. And of course, Apollo 21 is also active on social media. You can find us on LinkedIn. We post little snippets of videos all the time to YouTube and TikTok and all the other places. And if you happen to be listening from New York, I run a monthly founders dinner and a monthly innovators dinner, which is just 5 or 6 people sitting down and getting to know one another. I actually attended one last night and it was a great conversation. So if you're local, please come say hi and have dinner with us.
That's awesome. What a great idea. Face to face, flesh to flesh. I mean, gosh, we're
No name
missing
tags.
no name tags.
No name tags.
I love it. I love it. Great idea. All right, Danny Nathan, thank you. This is amazing. Apollo21.io is the place to go and learn about what they're doing, how they can help you understand how to capture, leverage, and launch the innovative growth that's in your business, so you can scale and build great teams. So, Danny, man, this has been phenomenal for me. Thank you so much for being my guest. Thanks for doing what you do to help businesses.
Thanks for having me. It's been a great chat.